What's up, Panther Nation? We are back with a post game of the loss to the New England Patriots in preseason. So, as you know, I've got this Panthers koozie. I'm drinking some Mountain Dew. So, Coca-Cola product. You already know what it is. So let's jump into this. As many of you know, how we do things is we go position by position and we grade them. So, let's jump right in with quarterback. Now, this is going to be a bit skewed because of the offensive line, but we're going to jump into specifically what passes were made and not made, according to the competition that we were facing. So, Cam Newton's foot injury, we'll start with that. We don't know anything more, so I guess wait for updates. And I'll post that update as soon as I hear something. I'll put up a video about it and let you know. That being said, it'll probably be like a 1 minute video or something like that, just to let you guys have an update on him. That being said, 4 for 6, not bad. He looked good. He made a few excellent decisions. He threw it away on one play. He did hold the ball a little too long. He did carry the ball like a loaf of bread. I'm not pleased with that. But he's been doing that since day one. So, I don't know what else to say there. Cam, get your act together on that, man. Come on, dude. And that was before he had the concussion. So, but that sack was all on him. Yeah, there was defensive pressure from both sides. Yes, the O-line did collapse and look like garbage on that play in particular, but he held that ball way too long. He ran around and tried to extend the play. There was just nowhere for him to go. You've got to get rid of that thing, man. Come on, Cam. Use your brain. That's what I'm talking about when I say that Cam needs to think things through. And if he uses his brain when he's on the field, we'll have a lot better plays. And our drives will continue. We might even get some points out of this. Use your head. I know that concussion of his isn't affecting him that much. Come on, man. Alright, so Kyle Allen. Kyle looked good. So did Will Grier on the check down passes. Nothing too fancy there. Here's the thing. And I want to get into this before I mention the offensive line again. And start diving into the rest of these grades. The play calling was unimaginative. And when I say that, let me tell you a little bit about what we were facing up against before I explain that. The New England Patriots corners have typically been very, very strong depth-wise. They've been forcing wide receivers and quarterbacks to throw it into checkdowns. Simple plays that don't move the chains. That's how Belichick coaches these guys. And it's been effective over the past 5 years. Or more. Guys. I've been scouting for the past 5 years at least. But, it goes way beyond that, I'm sure. That being said, when I said I was looking for more imaginative plays, you know, try something new. You know, get something else out there besides just checkdowns. You know, that's what they're going to be looking for. You know, and they'll give up checkdowns all day long. You know, and they did. We got a few first downs out of it. Great, but when it comes to third downs and we start making stupid penalties like holding calls or false starts, you know, stuff like that just kills drives. You know, sooner or later you end up with like a 3rd and 26 or a 3rd and 17 or something like that, which we saw a lot of today. We saw a 3rd and 26. I was just like, how is this even? Come on, O-line. Come on, guys. Like, we gotta stop shooting ourselves in the foot with stupid penalties. Like, that's been frustrating me for a number of years with this team. But it hasn't really shown its reared its ugly head until today. When that happened, that just kills drives automatically, especially holding calls. And I'm talking specifically about Greg Little, because I've seen a number of penalties from him in the preseason so far. And yes, he is injured. Yeah, I do give him a break for being a rookie, but only so far I can give him a break. You know what I mean? Like, when you're scouting a guy, there's always so far you can take that line before you have to say, okay, this guy is not adequate for our line, for our starting first and second depth chart position. You know, 3rd, 4th, down the line, you got so many offensive tackle positions, players that you're scouting and trying to put in. You know, and eventually you have to draw the line somewhere. And Ron knows where to draw that line and when not to. He should know by now. I mean, you've been a head coach for how long? You ought to know where the line is. And you ought to also know when to take these guys out when they're not getting it done. Yeah, and preseason, give them some leverage there. You know, you don't take people out in preseason. Whatever. I have no problem with that. But regular season, if the guy's a starter, and I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole again, because that's how 2016 went to heck. But we start looking at things that kill drives. That's number 1. Number 2 is injuries. Number 3 is people not being in the positions where they're supposed to be. And number 4, Cam Newton not making smart decisions. That is why we only had 3 points on the board. You want to know why? That's why. So, because of the offensive line, and I've said this from day one, before this game even started, everybody relies on each other. It's a chain. When people don't do their part, i.e., the offensive line, in this particular example, everything starts to fall apart. When the offensive line failed to get the blocks that they needed, the running game shut down, the wide receiver game was limited to check down passes. They could have been a lot more inventive with those plays. These quarterbacks had the time to throw it a little bit further for medium passes. You know, not necessarily deep passes, but medium passes. You know, out routes, middle crossing routes, whatever, you know, just basic stuff, middle plays. But That was shut down. You saw Cam get sacked because he held on to the ball too long under pressure, which is not new. You saw him having to throw it away on one play. The offensive line has got to get it done. And I've been saying this, and I will keep saying this. The lines are critical. So, the offensive line today, I think a C grade is too generous for these guys. I'm going to start with them. I'm going to say a D. I'm going to say a D grade. I mean, that was just... I was not pleased with the line at all. Everybody I had messaging me said the offensive line was trash. I can't disagree with that. So, yeah, it's critical. Alright, so quarterbacks, because of the lack of creative plays, I will give them a break. A little bit of a break because of the offensive line, and I'll say a B minus. I think is fair because they completed all their passes, short passes. They threw all the passes to the right spots. Will Grier overthrew a few, but that's been normal for him. That's been his MO. So, B grade for them. A lot of room to improve, and it's a B only because of Cam Newton not making the right decision and holding on to that ball way too long. So it could have been an A minus, but because of that, it's a B. So running backs, I'll have to say a C plus. And I'll say a C plus because Bonifon and Scarlett showed up today. Particularly Scarlett. You saw like a few really good handoff runs. One in particular that got pulled back was a holding call against somebody. I forget exactly who the player was. I have it written in my notes, but I'm not going to bother looking for it because it's not important because the play got erased. But in this play, Scarlett waited for that hole to open up and then ran through it and got about 6 or 7 yards. That's what you look for in a second or third string running back. That's what you're looking for. When you see stuff like that, they have to hit the hole, they have to be speedy, they have to be powerful through that hole, and they also have to look for the holes and be patient enough to wait for them to open up. So, kudos to him. I'm very impressed. Bonifon more so in the receiving game. He got involved with an easy check down pass or two and got some big yards out of it. So, good for him. So I do say C plus because of that. But overall, the running backs were really not that involved. Christian McCaffrey got his positive yards from the starting offensive line. But mostly, those plays got stopped before they got started. Because the offensive line didn't block. Wide receivers, you definitely have to give them the benefit of the doubt, B plus. I've been really happy with how they've been able to catch passes that were really hard to get a hold of. In particular, I'm trying to remember the wide receiver that got that one. He caught it like one-handed behind him and hauled it back in. And I know you guys probably know who it is. You guys saw the play if you were watching the game. But that happened like late in the game. Um, D-line. Let's talk D-line. D-line was really solid today. We saw some really solid pass rush today. I have to definitely give them a B+. They looked really, really good. Particularly Dontari Poe. And I single him out right from the get-go because Dontari Poe was a ghost last year. Let's be fair. He was a straight-up ghost. He did nothing for us last year. You guys will look at the stat sheets. You guys will look at the playbooks and the plays that happened last year and break them down. He was a ghost. He was nowhere to be found on run defensive plays. They ran circles around us because we didn't stuff the run. That is exactly why we were 15th overall in defense last year. That was part of the reason. That was a very small part of the reason. But Poe was a ghost. He was one of those guys you needed to step up, and he didn't. So I'm very pleased to see him get his act together this year and get this going into this year. Particularly against the Pats, because the Pats have playmakers and they will give 110% and hit you with everything they've got, plus they kitchen sink, except for their regular plays that they use during the regular season. So, you know what to expect. And that's second string, third string, fourth string, all the way down the list. All the way down the list. They're that deep, guys. I've been saying it from day one. They are that deep that they will challenge you. They will expose every weakness your team has when you play them. That's preseason, regular season, postseason, doesn't matter. Any of them. They go hard. And you know exactly how strong your team is and your depth when you play them. So I'm happy that they ended up on our preseason roster schedule. And exactly when they did. Because week 3 is critical. You find out who wants to make that 53. You know, the fight for the 53. You find out exactly who wants it. Against the Pats and against the Steelers. I mean, that's been traditional every year. So, defensive line, Poe steps up. Spider Burns, man. Spider Burns steps up today. Man, I'm so happy with him right now. He looked like a beast. Against that first string, against that second string, against that third string, he was solid all the way through. I mean, Spider Burns. Come on. Give this man his due. He had a heck of a game. He had 2 sacks. How many tackles? Dude was all over the place. And then, let's talk about Mr. Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton. My goodness, Mr. Hamilton. Come on down and show your true colors, man. Because I didn't know you had that in you. What a day for this guy right here. The coverage was excellent. The tackling was excellent. The effort was excellent. And the man even got a fumble pickup. Caused by my man Spider Burns. Come on, man. Show up. That's what I'm talking about. The corner battle picked up. You know, you saw these guys legitimately trying and legitimately pushing for their depth chart spots. I could not be happier. The defense looked excellent today. There's a lot to like. There's a heck of a lot to like. And I said it during the halftime video. That first quarter is a template of how everybody should be playing for the 3-4 defense for our team. You know, on down the line. It was a perfect template. It showed exactly where every player was supposed to be, what they were supposed to be doing, and how they were supposed to be doing it. So coaching staff, take note. Look at that first quarter and show it to every defensive player on that roster and tell them, this is what you need to be doing. This is where you need to be. This is what you need to be doing. Point blank. And if you're not doing it, we're going to scout you. We're going to scout you, and your name may or may not be on that list after the 53-man roster is completed. So, I definitely have to give the corners an A. They looked excellent today. Excellent. They went beyond my expectations. You know, I thought B plus, because New England hasn't exactly had the best wide receivers lately, but they still have wide receivers that can still test you. So, you know, it's because of what they built in the offseason. But my expectations were high. They always have been high, and they always will be high for our corners. Ever since DeSean Jackson came here, Action Jackson and Bradbury started stepping up their game. I don't know why I kept saying DeSean Jackson. I don't know why that was. But anyway, beyond my point, Action Jackson, Bradbury set the tone for what our corners should be doing. And today showed me that our corners are starting to close that gap between the ability on depth versus the ability on depth that the Pats have. You know, I'm very pleased with that. And I continue to be impressed by that, you know, as these preseason games roll on. You know, I was looking for players to step up. I was looking for Corn Elder. I was looking for Bradbury, for Action Jackson to make some noise. You know, and they did. They very much did. They got it done today. Very happy with you guys. Russ Cockrell got involved too. Got his job done. Very happy. So, free safety, strong safety. Parms. He had an okay day. I'll give him that. You know, Eric Reed was all over the place. So Eric Reed saves the day on the strong safety grade. You know, free safety, they were there. You know, they were guarding the pass. They got the job done. But Eric Reed was there on every sweep play. Every outside run play. He was there. You got to be pleased by that. You know, that reminds me of the old Troy Polamalu days where Troy Polamalu would just be like within 5 yards of every play. The dude was just that fast and that smart. He would just be there. You know, it's like Luke Kuechly, just like a ball hawk. I guess that's what the term you want to use. You know, he was just there. And I'm really happy with that. You know, these guys stepped up. They got it done. I can't say I was happy with the penalty that was on Eric Reed in the first half of the game. I didn't mention it at halftime. But, you know, you got to think up in Foxborough, those refs have been pretty biased against us. They were fair today. I'll give them their due. But towards the end of the game, what the heck? What was that 2-minute thing where they had no idea what they were doing? But before I get on, I mean, it was just, that was weird. Anyway, yeah, back to Eric Reed. You make the call whether that was targeted towards him, you know, towards what he's been doing and saying. off the field, but I don't, honestly, I don't know. That's a debate for a different day. But overall, I have to say, strong safety is a B. Parms kind of drove it down just a little bit, but when these players messed up, and got lazy on coverage, then the very next play they recovered. They bounced back, and you got to be pleased by that. So tight end position, I got to go B on that. Mainly because you didn't really see much of the tight ends. You saw Greg Olsen catch one, but I mean, beyond that, they weren't really that involved. Back to the defense and the linebackers. The linebackers, B minus, and I'll say that with generosity. These guys were actually actively putting in the effort and tackling an open field very, very well to the expectations where you would expect them to. Now, the issue comes in coverage-wise. Were these guys in the right spot? Were they there at the right time and in the right place? That's where that grading system starts to take a nosedive a little bit. So you're looking at, I want to say a B minus because of the coverage. So, that being said, on run defense, we gave up a lot of draw plays, a lot of ISO plays, and I believe Luke Kuechly has the answer to that. He said that Shaq Thompson, when he was drafted, could play either outside or inside linebacker. He's versatile. So that's what we're looking for. And that's kind of the template that we need to plug in those gaps up the middle and try to stop those run plays. The 3-4 isn't designed to stop the run. However, if you put the right man in the right spot at the right time and get those corners involved and open up those lanes, pressure-wise, you can kind of pinch the running back towards the middle, and if we have that guy that stops the gap and the run, we can hopefully get those stops on the run game. Special teams, we looked okay. I'm going to say B+. We did have that one fumble. That's why I'm taking that into account. But special teams, B+. Mark that down. Okay. Coaching. Because of Ron Rivera and what he's been doing wrong over the past few years, I've had to implement a section just for coaching. And I'm also adding today a section for play calling. And I think that's wise to do that because of the fact that the play calling today was not that special. It was unimaginative. Like I said, you have to find a proper balance between not giving up too much of your playbook in preseason, but giving up just enough to put points on the board and give these wide receivers and quarterback chemistry. So it's a really, really tough balance, and I can see both sides of the debate on this. I've had one person say, oh, well, I wish we had put up more points. Reasonable. It's okay that we didn't. You don't want to give up too many of the secrets of our playbook. Fair enough. That's one side of it. The other side is, oh, hey, we give up too much of our playbook, and we're we're scoring too much, or we're doing too much, and we need to dial it back. I can see that too. There's somewhere in the middle that's got to be a gray area that you want. As an offensive coordinator, as a head coach, to kind of mediate that. And that's where I don't envy Norv Turner's job, man, because that's where it gets really, really difficult to determine whether, it's too much or too little or right in the middle. So today, I think if you dial it up a couple of notches because of the competition we're facing, the really, really good Patriots corners in secondary, you have to notch it up just a little bit. Get a little bit more inventive, but not too much. Just enough to where we can get some plays moving and move the chains. If people commit penalties and stuff, that we can't really attribute to Norv. But if we get those plays going and we stop selling for like 75% of the game were checkdowns. I want to say even 80% were checkdowns. That's ridiculous. That's too many checkdowns. We got to start airing this ball out and start moving the ball around. But, I've covered that already, so we're there already. But coaching-wise is the final section before I give my final thoughts. Coaching-wise, Ron Rivera. Now, I touched on this earlier, and I said Ron Rivera made some mistakes in his prior coaching in the past few years. One of which was clock management. The second was challenges. And the third was just being more aggressive at the right time and in the right place in the field for fourth down conversions. So, he did an excellent job with all three today. I was very pleased with it. And he did in the Buffalo game as well. So, that being said, I don't want to say that Riverboat Ron is back. I don't want to say that just yet. I'm not going to say it yet. Not until regular season. But from what I saw, I was very pleased with it. He was right to challenge that non-call of pass interference on Mickens in the end zone. He was absolutely right to call that one. He was grabbing his jersey. And you guys make the call on whether you think it's pass interference or not. I think it was. A lot of other people don't. But I know I'm going to get roasted in the comment section for that one, but I don't care. Because I still think it was. According to the basic rules,